All right, welcome to Masculine Geek number 191, and we have a returning guest, Mr. Bryan M. Bowden. And good to have you back, sir. Now you're down in Florida, so you're experiencing some turbulence.
Yeah, I'm down in Florida. I'm on the East Coast. We're getting feeder bands on the back end. We had like a bunch of tornadoes last night. Um, Fairly close. Thank God they didn't hit us. But there was one at a place called Lion Safari, and I'm just just let your imagination run wild.
Oh
That a
shit!
tornado hits Lion Safari. They're now live. Like these
There's lions
lions
running around
running
everywhere.
around Southeast Florida. Beautiful.
Oh
So
shit!
the power just went out, and it's atypical if I have to do something. So I'm gonna use my moments and my minutes,
All right,
and let's see what we can get done. Hopefully the
it's
power will come back on when.
yeah. You're coming in pretty good. Like you would not know you're on the phone. Now that we've said that,
You know,
now you're choppy.
I haven't had anything up. I mean, my whole
I didn't hear a damn word you just said. I can hear you, but you've got that like that
Okay.
robotic chop. All right, now you're back, sort of.
Okay. Sorry about that. Just let me
No, there you
know
go.
if I go like, we're good.
Yeah, you're good now.
Testing 1 2. Cool. So I'm not gonna move. I'm gonna stay frozen this whole time.
There you go. All right, you
But
just set up
yeah,
the cardboard cutout.
yeah, I'm trying the best I can, folks. But
No,
who
it's okay.
knows?
We can always do if worst comes to worst, we could do another one that's closer to Halloween too. So
Yeah, not a
yeah,
problem.
cool.
Just tell me when I cut out, and
I'll give you the signal. I go, hey, you son of a bitch, you cut out. Um,
sure.
no worries. Tell us a little. We've had you on before, but there may be some watchers that have not uh, been clued into who and what you are. So what do you do?
Okay, what do I do? I used to be in finance, so I used to
Mm,
work for broker dealers for years. But I've always been interested in science. I almost studied astrophysicist. I was almost on that direction, rocket
okay.
science, if you'd like. But I
Mm,
couldn't, I didn't think I was going to make any money working at a university level or building nukes for somebody, whatever. So I went into business, and that's where I was. But I've always had an interest in what they classify as the paranormal.
mm.
Um, I've always been investigating it, and been doing it for about 45 years.
Holy
And
shit.
from yeah, so I'm boots on the ground. So I'll go into an investigation. I've been in the woods looking for Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I've seen a dogman up close and personal. There's a lot of different things they do. A lot of UFO stuff. I do what they would classify as a close encounter of the fifth kind, where you actively are asking a craft to make its presence known. I've done dozens of those, and every time we've had craft appear.
Oh
So
shit.
that's what I do.
Oh,
So
okay. That is a lot, and there's a lot to talk about there. Let's roll back just a few
sure.
seconds. You mentioned that you saw a dog man up close and personal. What is a dog man?
For all intents and purposes, a dogman is a werewolf, but without the like it's not the transformation ability like you'd see
It's
in the
not the
movies.
Hollywood werewolf, right?
No, it's not. It's actually a creature or a cryptid like Bigfoot, around the same height, anywhere from 6 feet to up. Um, and it's a very large werewolf. If you've seen the movie Van Helsing
Yeah.
and you've gotten the werewolves in that,
Hmm.
what they look like,
Yeah.
that's basically what you're seeing. But there
Oh
are a
shit.
couple of different variations. Some look like a baboon, some a hyena, or some people used to say Anubis because a lot of them are seen um, in graveyards. They like to hang out at the graveyard.
Oh no shit.
Hence Anubis. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
The god
So
of death. Yeah.
yeah.
Is that where you encountered your dog man in the graveyard?
No, we were doing a paranormal investigation from a place in Thales, New York, which is called Letchworth Village.
Okay.
And it's a 28,000 acre facility that was, it was a mental institution for the most part, or for people that had issues, defects, deformities. They put bastard children there, or, and there they did experiments on children and adults from age 1 day to up to 90. And
Oh
we were
shit.
investigating the cemetery that had over 300 unknown bodies dumped in it. And this
Damn.
was after that investigation. We kind of finished it, and where we parked the car, because I had it was like a November investigation, so it got a little chilly. And got to be honest, when you're out there that long, I had urine. I had to go pee, but I wasn't going to do it on the cemetery.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we got back to the car, we saw some eye shine, and my buddy's putting his pack away and his stuff. And I'm by the passenger door, and I'm, I haven't put everything away just yet. I put my backpack in, and I started urinating. But right there, about 20 feet or less from us, was this very large, it looked like a dog, looked like
Yeah.
a giant Malamute. We caught the eye shine at once, and it just sat there. Now, I'm 6'1" tall. I'm on a 3-foot grade. This creature was sitting there on its haunches, and its snout was roughly about my nose level.
Oh
Okay.
shit.
So if you take in consideration, if it stood up like a human,
Over 7 feet.
well over 7 feet, it's closer
Holy
to 9.
Shit.
It just sat there, and I'm the only one that's ever discussed this, but publicly, whatever, and I don't talk about peeing on people that much, but I've grown up, I've grown up in the dog show world with my parents, and I know all about dogs and canines and how they operate and what certain things are. And when you urinate in front of another dog, you're showing your dominance. I'm the alpha, you're my bitch.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So as I'm doing this, my buddy's like, "Get in the car, bro. Get in the car, but I gotta pee, right? I mean, I can't, sometimes when you start, you just can't stop.
You can't finish.
Yeah, it was like an Austin Power. Yeah, it was like an Austin Powers moment. And so just so you know, I don't have a firearm in New York whatsoever. So I had a machete across my chest. I had one in the back and one on the side, which I didn't take off at any point. And this thing was just sitting there, not moving a muscle. And after a couple of moments, maybe a minute or two, it went from sitting, and it lowered itself, and it kind of disappeared. Now, something I do also is called remote viewing.
Okay.
I call it remote viewing. Some people know that I apparently do have more abilities. I use my third eye. Everybody has these abilities, but everybody doesn't use them. So I've been using them. And when things start to gonna ramp up and get strange, I get goose pimples. And they popped right up, and I just got that feeling like I gotta go. And my buddy is screaming at me, "Get in the car! I'm gonna leave you."
Get to the chopper.
Yeah. Get in the car.
Get in the car.
The chopper. And I got in the car. He sped out. I mean, real fast. He's not, he's my partner in crime with this, my paranormal brother, Al Santoriga. Okay. So you may want to have him on. He has got some great stuff, and we can arrange that for you. You guys.
Yeah, that'd be great, actually. Yeah.
And then we took off, and I kept looking in the rearview mirror, and nothing came out. But this thing disappeared, and I just he even felt it, like it was coming around, like, okay, we'll see who the alpha is at this point. He was looking for a better opportunity.
Gotcha. Do you think in that moment? Do you think in the moment it was showing submission because it was sinking down?
I got to be honest. These creatures are very smart. If you get the reports, we have a group called the New York State Dogman Project, and we interview people that have had experiences, and they're very, very intelligent. They're crafty. They like to mess around with people. So, one case, someone we know, they have a fishing store on their property. So, by the garage area in the back of the house, there's a bell you ring, and it rings in the house that it's the back door. The fishing store, and in the front there's a different sound. And at 3 a.m, she had bing bong bang, going on. So she sleeps with a double barrel shotgun by her bed. This is upstate New York. We
Hmm.
went out to visit. There were definitely dogman tracks on the property. It's really a tri-toe. It's
Okay.
like three toes the way it is, and like the haunch in the back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there was definitely something there, and they like to play around like that. They'll scratch at your door. They'll try to get you to come out.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's they're an
What now?
interesting cryptid.
Shit. Now, what's their range as far as like in their geographic interest, as it were?
As North America is concerned, they're all over North America. They're basically all over the world.
Okay.
So, but for example, in North America, they're everywhere. They're on the East Coast, Midwest, everywhere. Certain areas are a little bit more. They have a lot more sightings of these creatures. We believe that they use some of the cave systems throughout the United States, aquifers to travel.
Okay.
But one of the theories, and I've come up with over the years regarding Bigfoot, I believe applies to these dogman creatures.
Hmm.
Because I believe this Bigfoot, this is from personal experience. I've only come to this conclusion after personal experience. I've always felt I thought it was a flesh and blood creature, like one of the, missing links, Gigantopithecus or something.
Hmm.
But we had an encounter on an investigation where we had a Bigfoot that whooped. And it went whoop, whoop, and then 2 miles down the road, whooped again. And the only way you can do that, and this is something I studied in the beginning, I did study physics, is if the only way you can go from point A to point B 2 miles in a split second, especially when it's pitch black, and the area that you'd have to travel is a goat trail. I mean, and virtually impossible, is if you opened a portal and went into that portal and came out 2 miles down the road.
Now we're getting into Philadelphia experiment stuff.
Right. So I believe that they have an innate ability to be flesh and blood at one moment, and then convert their energy so that they can go interdimensional. And that would be something that's very quantitative, and all of this will be pretty much proven. Not by well, if you physically had a creature like that, which we don't, no one publicly has one. I believe the military does, or the government. But once we're in the real baby stage of quantum physics, and quantum physics will be able to explain a ton of this later on.
Okay.
100%. So that's why I believe they're able to change their energy and their molecular structure to go from the physical into the interdimensional. Some of that is when energy, if you guys are any science guys, when you convert energy from one to another source type of energy, there is almost like a little spark or some kind of electrical discharge in the process.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of light anomalies around these creatures and in the areas. And again, there are some people were reported as UFOs, but they very well could be moving around as those energy sources, like a red light or blip coming through or blue light. And that's just before they convert themselves into a physical or go into dimension.
So it's like almost like an after effect.
Yeah. And everybody's like, well, how would they do that? And I'm like, I point to the octopus. If you know about the octopus, an octopus can change its physical capabilities. It can be smooth. It could pretty much mimic anything for the most part.
And the color too.
The color, everything about an octopus. So it's an innate ability. How would they do that? Would that be considered paranormal? Yeah, until we discuss, we had an octopus to discover, that they have the ability to do this. So until we physically have one on a university level or public, everything's of course, a hypothesis, but this is what I've basically come back down to. And I believe the dogman being able to disappear as quickly has the same capabilities.
Now, do you think this is where Whitley Schreiber based his Wolfen characters? Because in his book, The Wolfen, which was also made into a movie, while in the movie they made them look just like they just used wolves and dogs, but the way they're personalities are described, they're not like your typical werewolf, and the Wolfen in Schreiber's book seems more like these dogmen than even traditional werewolf type lore, as far as
Right.
how they hunt humanity and how they hunt kind of on the fringes when human territory encroaches upon their territory.
It's funny. Any animal where humans start to encroach, there is a select few that will come and defend their lands to a certain point. Okay, so with Whitley Strieber, which I did work a little bit on the last one on Discovery Plus, although I never got credit for it, but I did. Whitley, here's the problem I have with Whitley.
Okay.
I remember I'll get back into the wolf in a second. I have to do a circle here.
Okay.
When I saw Communion, when I saw the front cover of that book, before I even knew who the hell Whitley Strieber was, there's something about that image that resonated with me. Have no idea why. Maybe it's because I studied the subject, whatever.
The little gray alien thing.
Yep. You just stared at it and you just kept staring. I'm like, I got to read this book. But the problem you have with that book is the fact that Whitley Strieber is an author, and he's pretty much a horror science fiction-ish almost type author. So there's a little bit of a suspect here. Like, is this a way for him to generate revenue? So whatever.
Sensationalizing it.
Right. I do believe he has an experience, with the aliens. There's a lot more to it. He gives away a little bit of that, and there's certain clues when you study this that you kind of pick up on, kind of like when the police don't release all the information on a killing because they want it. If the real serial killer chimes in, they'll know they're talking to the real person, not like somebody jumping onto the bandwagon. With the Wolfen, it's when you're very into the subject, like I was, werewolves and monsters. That's how I started also, watching Abbott and Costello and Lon Chaney Jr., that stuff. When someone has a creative mind like he does, he's able to think outside the box. Like we've always said, well, what if werewolves could fly? Or you always put these things out there. So whether he was tapping into something subconscious that was implanted, maybe through his multiple abductions, because if you've been abducted once, you've been abducted previously, whether you know it or not. So this is pre his abductions. If was he tapping into something that he was made aware of by a third party, or was it his mind going, thinking outside the box and just like, hey, what if they were super smart and they were, they were stopping people from, humans from encroaching. I don't know. I couldn't give you the solid answer on your question, but I think there is something more to it. And as far as that's concerned, like something there that he may not have been aware of at the time.
And you think him not being aware? You think that's deliberate?
Yeah, he may just be his,
you're breaking up a little bit.
This would be a great. Okay, sorry. What about now?
You're back. All right, you're back.
Sorry, I'm moving closer. I'll be right in front. I think there's something part of it where he's using his creative side of it, but that could have been, seeded by something else. For example,
we lost you. Ruh-roh. You're frozen. You can probably hear us. We can't hear you. Curse you, Floridian weather.
I'm sorry. I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm doing my best, but sometimes things pop up.
No, that's all right.
No, it's completely understandable. We appreciate you being here, despite the adverse conditions down there.
Yeah, getting back to Gene Roddenberry, he did an interview once where he felt like he may have had an experience with an alien or something to that effect. May or may not have. I think he may have related. He saw something in craft, and that may have been a seeding for the aliens to tell Roddenberry to create a show, which he did. He doesn't really give himself full credit for it. He kind of goes divine intervention. But with that case, he thinks that there's somebody else that was also involved in it, or something else that was involved in it. Let's put it that way. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I was holding up, just for people, this is one of a set of Wolfen lobby cards.
Nice.
I collect movie posters and lobby cards, and I've got a complete set from Wolfen, but I also had read the book as well as seen the movie with Albert Finney, and it's a different kind of horror movie. It obviously it did okay, but it wasn't like a super hit or anything like that, because it wasn't in the age of Jason and Freddy and Michael Myers. It was a bit more tame and
more
cerebral.
Subdued,
Yeah, it was an intellectual product more so.
Yeah,
made you think.
But it tied in with, like, you know, Native American beliefs, skinwalkers, and so on and so forth. And that's why, you know, I was trying to tie the two, because there were a lot more similarities to that than the traditional Universal Lon Chaney Jr., the Wolfman.
Right. So here's the problem. A lot of people have put the Skinwalker in with the werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Skinwalker being a transformer for the most part as well.
Right.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
A Skinwalker has the ability to transform.
Mm-hmm.
It's pure evil because of the process that a human goes through to attain those abilities. And you can look that up Native American wise.
Mm-hmm.
It is really, really god awful to obtain the ability to do that and practice that black magic, which gives you the ability to transform into, according to Native folklore, into animals, usually a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
A man wolf.
Yeah.
There's a great incident that took place in Canada on a Greyhound bus. I forgot the guy's name, but I remember the guy got on the bus. People complained after the event. Yeah, there was something strange about him. He smelled terrible. He smelled like rotting flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat in the back next to a person. And in mid-trip, he cut the head off the person. And the bus was surrounded by mountain Canadian Mounties, and he kept holding the head up, and he was eating it. And
what the fuck?
They caught him. Eventually, they got him. And there's a claim that he was a skinwalker, and that's why he did what he did. And there's a lot about him and the smell and what he was doing. You know, eating.
Probably wasn't a skinwalker.
No, he very well could have been one. But he was locked up. I think he was recently up for parole up in Canada. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's
all they need now.
They got the shards. So, you know, it's kind of like, what is it, the Emperor's Groove? Like, waterfall, shards of glass, you know, shard rocks. Bring it on.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So.
What's one more? Yep.
One more thing.
One more fucking thing. Skinwalker's
I'm just hoping the fucking lights go back on.
What do you got going? A flashlight?
Yeah, I got a couple of flashlights quickly, and you know, some battery life. So that's good.
Cool.
Yep.
Now, let's bring it back to further up on the East Coast. You and I were talking about this on text and on the phone. The Montauk Project. What can you tell us about that? What exactly is that?
So it's funny. I'm driving through. I'm trying to get down to Florida, so I drive, right? And I normally go down 95, but by Philadelphia, they said roads closed. So they sent me some other way, and I really do not like going through Philadelphia. At all. So eventually I'm in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Okay. Like freaking, you could hear the banjos once you get on the road. Okay.
Hardy twang.
I'm hearing that, like, let me hear you squeal, boy, you know. and I get a text from you, Vince, and I'm like, you know, all about, you know, like, what do you know about Camp Hero? And you know, and I'm like, seriously, I need to do this. I can't do this.
I didn't want you to. I didn't expect you to text like long walls of text, but you know, just say, "Hey, I know about this. Let's talk." You know.
Yeah. So we were talking. I forgot the name of the book you were reading. I just but it's all about the Philadelphia experiment, time travel, Montauk Project, the whole nine. So basically, it's Camp Hero, which is at the tail end of Montauk, was a military base since the 40s, and rumored to do experiments on human beings, psychological experiments, targeting them with microwaves. That's hence the big transmitter on the top, the big tower. It's talk about other experiments on individuals, not only medical experiments, but time, space, dimension experiments. It's rumored to have space portals there, portals where you can travel and do some jumping from one area to another or dimension to another. And of course, different type of military technology, kind of like the Philadelphia experiment, where they try to cloak a ship, and in the process, they actually sent it back in time or forward in time, actually, for a brief moment.
Forward to 1983, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a cluster of all this stuff. It's all that stuff that the show Stranger Things is basically based off of. And you get the Montauk Monster, which looked really bizarre. Yeah, the Beast. People say, "Oh, it's just a decayed raccoon." I'm like, I don't know about
that. Not from the photo.
No, that's I don't think so. You also have people in the area that have said that they've been abducted, and that would be oh my God, I forgot the name of the project.
The Montauk Boys?
Well, the Montauk Boys are part of that project where they're abducting children, doing experiments on them. And what the military is working with is to get into
I think that was the Phoenix Project.
Well, it was Montauk Boys. Well, it's part of the Phoenix Project, and it's also MK Ultra. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So basically, what it is creating super soldiers and training these kids to be super soldiers, and at a drop of a hat using microwave technology. That's what the tower was. To be able to literally insert into their brains, after the conditioning, like you need to, like Reggie Jackson and Naked Gun, I must kill the queen, that type of stuff. Okay. And there are plenty of people that still, to this day, have complained about headaches and nausea, and they can't sleep, and they're hearing voices in their head. Not only in Montauk, but wherever the military uses these microwave towers throughout the country, they're still active, and they use it in case of a nuclear attack. The microwaves actually will break through and be able to be transmitted, so you can communicate from base to base. But they were also looking into using it to condition people, get into their consciousness, and use it as a psychological weapon. So the Montauk Boys were a group of kids that have gone through this program, or have alleged to have gone through the program and been semi-brainwashed or experimented on. Some have said that they have not only been experimented on that way, but they've been used in portal experiments and transported forward and backwards in time. And they're talking about taking kids anywhere from age 5, 6 on up. And they were so scared out of their minds at that point, they just didn't know how to react to it. So it's called the Montauk Boys. So that's what we were talking about. And you're like, it's like a quick text. It's like, hey, tell me about, like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I wanted to know if you knew detail. That's all.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different details because, first of all, the Camp Hero was, I think, shut down in the late 80s.
It was shut down. It was decommissioned in the 60s,
right.
69, and then revived again in 1971.
Right, but I think in the late 80s, they said it was completely shut down.
Correct.
And what I was saying to you is that my personal opinion is it's not shut down. First of all, I can't give you a proof to it, but I've seen over and over again different people, and there is a whole system underneath this country and the world, a traveling system, high-speed rail, using electromagnetic type of vehicles that you can, like the Japanese have,
like the maglev trains. Yeah,
exactly. And there is rumor to have a base that goes from Camp Hero into the U.S. Across
shit.
the entire United States. I think that there's areas in Camp Hero and a lot of underground areas that no one's allowed to go to. It's all been sealed off. Although some people, if you look it up on YouTube, they'll throw you a couple of videos that pretty much say there's something more to this and they're not letting us know. So I think they've secured a location. I think things are still going on there as far as experiment wise. On top of that, just before it was totally shut down and like, look, we're not funding it anymore. You know, what a great way to continue a Black project.
Right.
Because if you say it's not funded anymore, we're not doing anything, you show diagrams or whatever, you can show whatever you want, but that takes the focus off of it. Like, oh, well, it's defunded. We're not going to go through it. And that allows them to continue doing what they're doing.
There's no GSA. There's no GSA paperwork.
Exactly.
It's interesting you talk about underground because the research that I did, and I corroborated this. I had one of my girls. She's a real commercial real estate agent. Follow up on it because I wanted proof of this. Like,
right.
Hey, it said this. That sounds weird. Give me proof. And I got the proof. So,
right.
The land, Camp Hero, was given to the state of New York for a park, except for certain parts that are still blocked off with gates and, with the tower and everything you're talking about. So that is state land. State land.
Yep.
The interesting thing is the federal government, aka the military, still owns everything underground. And I have that on paper. the proof of that. That's coming up on real estate information.
Right, and that's what I said to you. I think in our conversation on my strange trip to the Blue Mountains.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's the government is not going to give you any access to anything. They know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And if they're not allowing you underground, you could say, the one side will say, well, that's because there's munitions or it's dangerous and it's crumbling. Yeah, whatever.
That's correct.
I say that it goes down 20 stories, 30, 50 stories, and they're still doing experiments there. And because they have the ability to not need to pull transportation in on the surface or in the water, they could do it elsewhere. So I could be at Wright-Patterson out of Ohio, hop on one of these trains, and in a matter of 20 minutes, I could be back at that base with a team of people doing whatever work we got to do. And what's great is the way the government works is that they compartmentalize everything. So, Vince, you could be working on one end of the project. I could be working on another end of the project. These two, you guys could be working on a third end of it, and we're not knowing what we're doing for each one of them.
Yeah.
So I do believe it there. I believe there's also a connection to Plum Island, which is right off the coast, where that's where it's funny. It's in direct line between pretty much Camp Hero, Plum Island, and if you continue going, you'll hit Lyme, Connecticut, hence Lyme disease.
Oh shit! What do you mean? Was that contrived?
The rumor is, I hate using rumor, but on Plum Island, they have a lot of biological weapon type of research and stuff there. And they believe that something like the tick escaped from the lab somehow and was picked up by some of the birds, because birds use that island for migration. And where do they migrate to? They go to Lyme, Connecticut. And where does Lyme disease come out of? Lyme, Connecticut.
Oh, shit.
So that is one of the reasons. Well, that is the prevailing theory, and I think people have tried to sue based off of that, the government. But those cases, like, oh, we're still looking into it.
We all know how that works out.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. So, I mean, you have a whole thing going on there, and it's very interesting. So the radio tower that's up there, which was part of oh my God, I'm trying to remember the SAG or something like that.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the acronym. It was used as a communication base and gave us about a 30-minute head start in World War II to any type of German subs coming. and whatever else they were using it for, which I do believe they're using it as a transmission tower to hit or alert their experimented individuals, men, women, and children, that we're coming for you, or you need to come out here, something like that, to get them to do things.
Okay.
And I point to a couple things when I say that they brainwash people. MK Ultra, which is a brainwashing technique, trying to create these super soldiers that don't even know that they've been brainwashed, and the next thing you know, they commit assassinations or mass murder. I'm not using it as an excuse, but I found it very weird. The kid that killed all those people in, I believe, Aurora, the movie theater.
Yep.
Okay, so he was connected. His family's connected. One in the government. His parents or father is connected to the parent or father of the kid from Columbine, I believe.
Shit.
Yep. They also were on the same medication. And if you looked at when they brought him in, because he did the killing. He did what he did. Unfortunately, I'm sorry for those people getting killed. And the police just found him sitting on the sidewalk after that. And then when you saw him for his arraignment hearing, he kind of looked like, what happened? Where am I? He had no clue.
Like he just woke up from something.
Exactly. So I'm not giving a justification. I just said it's very strange and it probably should be looked into, but you know, where are we going to look into it? Yeah. So, but part of this whole thing, not only Camp Pura and what's going on there, that relates to in World War II, the U.S. government experimenting with technology, and I believe Tesla was somewhat involved in this.
Very much involved,
somewhat involved in it.
He was involved on the back end of the Philadelphia experiment.
That's where we were going with this.
Yep.
So, the Philadelphia experiment is very interesting because they took, I believe it was a battleship.
A small. They actually created a small something class E something class destroyer. Right. Specifically for the purpose of the I think it was called the USS Eldridge for the experiment. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know if it was battleship or a destroyer, and they put soldiers on it and they kind of retrofitted it with all this electromagnetic type of transformers and things. And they put the energy through the whole entire ship, and for a brief moment the ship disappeared. It was gone. And then when it came back just a moment later, some of the soldiers on the ship were literally embedded into the physical body of the ship. We're talking like a soldier from his waist up, being stuck in the deck or coming out of the sidewall or a foot Christ. One place and whatever. And they were just, there's radiation type of burns and other deformities that came back, and they shut they said they shut the project down.
No,
but I don't think they did. But so it was a success but a failure in the same breath. I think what happened is it's like anything else in science. They had a hypothesis, they applied it based on mathematics and some other things, and they just didn't execute it properly. They either overdid it or underdid it. It wasn't precise, and they had an issue.
And completely forgetting the human factor.
Well,
the soldiers.
Well, the military doesn't give a crap about humans. I mean, the government.
That's for damn sure.
And it's always for the benefit of, the military's use. And again, I thank every man, woman, child, and animal that has done work for this country and served this country. I can't thank you guys enough. And when I say children, I'm talking about the ones that have to be home while mom or dad's, deployed. And, because we use dolphins, we've used horses, pigeons. I mean, you could, it's insane, but they don't care if they can figure out a way to kill better or be successful with it. They're going to do it. So, but I think from the Philadelphia experiment, and something very interesting on a sidebar with Tesla, when Tesla died, the first thing that happened is like within minutes, his hotel, we lived, I think I lived in, I don't think it was the Plaza. I forgot where it was in New York.
The New Yorker.
The New Yorker?
Yeah, the last 10 years of his life was in the New Yorker.
The FBI showed up and took everything.
Yep.
I mean, everything. However, the rumor is, and this is very interesting. Here's a connection. Here's a plot twist. The rumor is that the uncle of someone had access to his material prior and may have taken the real good stuff.
Oh, shit.
And we can go into that in a few moments. That uncle we're talking about is Donald Trump's uncle.
No shit.
No shit.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And where that goes into is a project called Looking Glass.
Oh, and you're telling me about that. Yeah.
I was telling you about that. Now, what's interesting about Looking Glass, and this is where it gets interesting because I'm not here to get political. I don't care if you like Donald Trump or don't. But if you've noticed that Donald Trump has been 100% accurate about what is going to take place before it takes place. Also, he's, what's going to happen. It's going to be A, B, and C, or they're going to do this, or this is what's going to take place.
Yeah.
And there's this goes back to another person. There was a guy, I forgot his name. He kind of discussed Looking Glass. Looking Glass was a project. There were 3 components used in Looking Glass at one point, part of which was retrieved from the crash at Roswell.
Oh, shit.
These components. And when put together, they kind of created a viewer into the Einstein-Rosen bridge. Rosen. I think it's Rosen bridge, where you can travel through space-time. See, time is a Earth constraint. It's whatever it is now, 940, let's say. But time doesn't exist anyplace else. And in theory and in quantum mechanics, time, everything exists, past, present, future at the same time. You can see it all. Okay? So prevailing theory about time travel is if you, let's say, Vince, you went into a time machine and you traveled 15 minutes into the future. Okay? By the time and then back. By the time you got back, the theory is we would be like 9,000 years old, whatever it is, or dead, and you'd still be the same age because of Einstein and Rosen, through calculation predicted it. But if you have the ability to see time or everything that takes place in the same bracket, right here, and you can manipulate your timelines, and there are multiple timelines at the same time, 20, 30, 40, then you can technically go ahead in the future and come back to the precise moment or before or after that moment on a different timeline.
That means no one's ever really dead.
No, technically no. And
when you think about it, if you're according to
that, does that explain the concept of deja vu? Where
well, I think it does. I think what happens is there's multiples of all of us. Like right now, there's an interview being taken place in the blackout of a storm, a hurricane in Florida, and what happened? Everything is off. It's tweaked a little bit. Everything tweaks a little bit. So if everything's really good on this planet, there's a planet that's everything's really bad. Everything's gray. Everything's plus or minus. I think when you get deja vu, it's it could be 2 things. One, you're using your third eye, which is right here. When God said He created man in His image, He meant the abilities too. Not that you're a god, but you have the abilities to use them. Everybody has a psychic ability. Pineal gland right here.
I was about to say it's based on the pineal gland, right?
Right. You declassify it by taking iodine, which works great, and you start concentrating on it, and like a muscle, it gets bigger and stronger, so it doesn't get calcified as fast. And you can travel. You can do things with your brain. You're using more of your brain. So I think it's part of that. You can also connect to the Akash record, which is the ultimate record of everything at once. That's why when you die from here and you go to heaven, you know everything about everything. There's no secrets. You know what's going to happen in the future, and that's a different story. But I think it's also you're tapping into other timelines, and hence the deja vu.
Oh shit!
For a brief moment,
you're connected.
You're connected. Now,
fuck.
A lot of times, it could be you're tired and you're allowing your body to succumb to that merger. You know, it just happens to be at that merger.
Yeah.
Some people can do it at will. Some people can travel forward, backwards, see things in the future, like psychics or whatever. It's just open. It's ready. It's available. Other people take some time. But I've noticed with people, and I got a guy named, a good friend of mine, David Peronin. He's the safety doctor.
Safety doctor,
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, Dave. So when he was putting in his thesis for his doctorate at where the heck is he? Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's what I think he is. He was like so happy. It was that, you know, he finished it. He's got it all ready. He's walking it into the building that he has to go and drop it off at. And he came out. He walked into the building and he tells the story. You should ask him. He comes out and everything looks like there's construction going on, but everything looks weird. It looks older and weird, you know. And he meets somebody there and goes, he's looking around. It doesn't look familiar. The guy goes, I'll help you get out. You're going to need my help. And eventually gets him out of the building. And then he's back to normal. Then he goes back in the building and the same floor. And like, it's totally what it's supposed to be. So what I think was, and I said this to him actually, I said, because you're so happy, your vibration was higher. And he literally jumped back in time.
Oh, shit.
And he was able to do it. I believe we're all able to do this. I believe the ability exists within everybody. But because it's subconscious, it was totally free and a pure experience.
Yeah.
Had he wandered around, he very well could have been lost there. And people would have been like, where'd Dave go? You know, it's like, well, he's stuck back in 1923 at University of Wisconsin someplace. But that's why one of the individuals back knew that he was a jumper and people can jump into these. There he is.
Yep.
There he is. University of Madison. There you go.
Total loss of 6 to 7 hours in that building, 1840s, was built on a block-sized Indian effigy mound. All true.
Go.
I gave the interview with Cat War. Okay, I'll have to check that out.
See,
Safety Doc, time traveler.
Yep. And I believe he time traveled without him knowing about it.
Would that explain a lot of the stuff that happens on Civil War battlefields with like things coming into existence? Like, oh well, there's that portion of the battle that people can see for a moment, or a building that was not there before is there now.
I think there was so much energy involved in that war, so many souls lost. I think it's a combination of both. I think it's a residual. It's like a tape playing over and over again.
Gotcha.
You know, get to Mars, get to Mars, get to Mars.
Yeah.
You know, but I also think because the energy is so powerful and it's such an important thing, I think it can't. There's so much energy that it does come back in. I think we're playing around with different timelines.
Okay. Holy shit.
You know, yeah.
Trying to wrap my head around all this.
Well, it's kind of hard, but if you study quantum physics right now, you'll understand it better.
Okay.
And this is with the Project Looking Glass. Getting back to that.
Oh yeah, let's get back to that. Yeah.
Well, it's all tied in. So they were able to put these three products together, these three objects together, and be able to look at timelines, not only individual timelines, all of the timelines, and they were able to, via computer or some kind of device, test like, what if we change this? What would happen? What the outcome is? So they can run tests. And at one point, the person that was kind of talking about this said that no matter how many different ways they did the experiment, at one point they couldn't stop it from going to the same point in time. And apparently that same point in time is that every timeline will eventually merge into like a one. And every timeline will be like aware of what's going on. So in other words, an awakening. And because this was so powerful and you could literally see into the future what was going to happen with a country, find anything.
Yeah.
They determined that we can't keep these three pieces together. We have to separate them. So one piece was kept in the U.S., one piece was kept sent off to a different ally, and another piece was sent to a different group. Whoever it was, their secret little groups, so it wouldn't be used to harm anybody in the future. So no one had an advantage. They controlled the window. And from what I've been hearing or reading, and I don't know how true it is, Team Trump had gathered all this. He was aware of it. Right. He was aware of this through his uncle's documentation and notes and information. And this is why Trump, every time they try to do something to him, he was able to. It was like, talk about the Teflon Don. He was the Teflon Don. He's been spot on about everything. There it is.
I entered the building at 11 a.m. and walked out at dusk. Entire time in building should have taken an hour. It was a 15-minute to the parking garage. Holy shit!
Yeah, all right, get him on your show, Doc. Come on the Geeks.
Yeah, come back. We've had him on before, and he comes in as a guest here and there. But yeah, if you want to come on and talk about that, that'd be kind of cool.
And buy his new book. It's a great book.
I do have it, yes. But yeah, get his new book. Yep. The Velocity of Information.
Yep, great book. Actually, the first book is great too.
It is.
So, so that explains that whole thing, the jumping forward and backwards.
Yeah.
Because you think it's 15 minutes, but it's not. It's actually longer. Holy shit. Is how time works. It's just, but so Trump was apparently put it all together. He's in control of everything. He has all the information. He knows what everybody's been doing. I mean, if you really want to know what one group is doing, you can literally with this thing peek into like your personal life and go, oh okay.
Is that what they called like back in the 60s and 70s when they first started doing this, the chronovisor?
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
because I keep hearing that term crop up. Like that, you can see these you can focus on sections of time and see everything that's happening at that specific decade or whatever.
100%. It's very interesting. It's kind of hard to. It really is hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
But everything happens at once, past, present, and future. And look, I've read the Q drops and all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, this sounds really great. Arrest somebody. That's my motto.
Yeah.
So, but here's really where it gets interesting. If you look at stuff that was put out there, and I'm not on the Q train, it's interesting. Closer to the election, things that were put out were getting kicked off left and right. I'm like, holy crap, maybe this is real. And I was waiting for an event. It didn't happen. But again, here's where it gets weird. Even now, stuff is ticking off where they said past proves future. They've posted something that's going to take place in the future and spot on to the day, like a year previously or 2 years previous, it takes place. So it's very interesting. This could have been drops by them. This could have been like, look, this is what you need to look out for. So it's very, very strange, and how's a great way to talk about things, but without revealing it. You talk about what you were talking about. You can see little sections.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So when someone passes away or dies and they move from the physical into their energy, their soul goes into the ethereal, right? Mm-hmm. When you go to heaven, which I believe there is a heaven and there is a hell, there are multiple levels, like Dante's Inferno. Okay, but it is heaven, and depending on where you are in life is where you'll get to, and the higher you go, the closer you are to the Akash records and a freer life or existence thereafter. Once you get up there, everything about everything.
Yeah.
But your access to the ultimate source, or God, if you like to call it, is, you have a choice. If you're at level 9 and you want to be number 1, you'll learn about the mistakes you've made at level 9, and you have a choice. You can continue learning and, slowly move up, or you can go back, reincarnate, correct those mistakes, and then you come back again at 5. You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit!
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's why some individuals, when they come back, they're at that moment where they're going to get to level 9. I'm just using numbers as an example, the high, or number 1, the top.
Yeah.
And they come back and they're a baby and they die within 6 months or something. It could just be that they fulfilled what they needed to fulfill and they move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all on a quantitative level, and I'm haven't died yet, thank God. Don't plan on doing it for a while. I think
You're right.
But yeah,
keep on going.
Yeah, you know what's funny is or not. It's not funny actually. It's just it's. I knew someone years ago who went to go fight in one of the wars overseas, and he was, his night before he was shipping out, he just said, "I know I'm not coming back."
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, telling him not to have that kind of mindset, not to have that kind of attitude, and he just said, "No, I know I'm not coming back."
Yeah.
It's weird how people seem to know or are able to anticipate stuff like that. And it's almost like this, like kind of like you're saying, it's like this a third sense or sixth sense or whatever it is, where you're able to perceive things that are beyond what you can, for science, it's the other 5 senses, right? Or at least that's what, but it's something that's beyond what you can at least deal with as far as we know. I'm not sure, like with the Philadelphia experiment, I'm not sure how they would have explained that scientifically.
Well, I don't think the soldiers involved in the ship knew anything about it. They were just guinea pigs, unfortunately. The scientists were the ones that were knowing about it, Einstein, Tesla, Oppenheimer, and everybody else. And, like I said before, when you're being used as an experimentation last 2 years, they don't give a shit about you.
No.
Right.
They give a shit about the results and what they're going to get. Where did we go wrong? Where can we perfect? But throughout time, there are, I use the term rumors because I can't give you proof. There's no physical proof.
Yeah.
But there are reports of portals like Stargate's found where where you can do a jump from point right now to Mars or backwards and forwards in time. There's plenty of photographic evidence of people at historic events that look at a place. There's one.
I just posted one on both Instagram and Twitter about the child chrononaut. I forget his name now. Who they sent him back to the Gettysburg Address.
Yep,
in November.
And you can see him. He doesn't look like anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a woman in a movie. She's walking and she's in the period costume, but she looks like she's talking on a cell phone. It's my hand to God.
Holy shit.
So also, recently people have found fossils underground. Look like a cell phone, look like a watch. It should. We're talking millions of years old. Like, what the hell is it doing there?
Mm-hmm.
So I always think of Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when they're gonna get rid of the Earth. Like, we'll just blow it up. We'll make a new one. No, that bone needs to be 3 layers lower. I think civilization, as we know it, we're just the nth version of Earth, and we get to certain points. And we mess up like we normally do, and then let's not do that again. So then we go forward 10 more generations, then we mess up, we go back again. So I think we're due for a do-over, we'll call it, soon. And I'll tell you what NASA did the other day by ramming a spacecraft into an asteroid. That should scare the shit out of you, because I've seen every movie where that they've tried that crap and it don't work out well.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. But
Jesus.
Yeah, there's so much to this, and it branches out into other subjects, and it's been revised. I think they're still doing experimentation. Jesse the Body, the governor, whatever. They've had people on that show, Conspiracy Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it this way. As of now, the conspiracy theorists are up 100 points percent, and the people that go with the truth are like negative numbers now because they're
pretty much. Yeah, their ass is hanging in the wind.
Right. I mean, I just can't give you, and I'm sorry about it, I can't give you physical proof.
Yeah.
And when you talk about these things, it's people think you're crazy.
Right.
But if you do the research and you can put A, B, and C together, you kind of can figure things out, in relationship to that.
Oh yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah, nothing exists in a vacuum. You just start putting different things that happen together over time. You're like, wait a minute, this is all fucking connected.
Well, it's funny. There's a man named Donald D. Mesquita, which may be a family member on my father's uncle's side. He's a math professor, I believe, at NYU. He's often called in to government, maybe CIA, NSA, and asked about events that are going to take place in the future. Given certain events take place in the world, he has a calculation table where if you fill in the blanks, he's created an equation where you fill in the blanks between like market is here, news of this, droughts. I mean, it takes into consideration everything. He's pretty much he has a fairly high percentage rate of being accurate about future events, what could take place. So they ask him his opinion. I guess he's listed as an advisor. With what I do, and I've remote viewed in the future. I've only did that last 2 summers, not this past one. I did a remote view where I said while I was doing this, I said I want to see 6 months to 18 months in the future. And I've written it down and I published it. It's on Facebook. If you look at my publishing, I'm pretty accurate with it. I'm very, very accurate with it. I was off by a few things but a lot of it, the current unrest taking place in Canada, so I was spot on about it.
Oh, shit.
I still believe there's going to be a war between China. U.S. is going to be involved. And there's some other things going on there, but I remember I can't explain how I do it. I've done a couple of readings for friends. If they need something, I'll do it. I'm not a Miss Cleo. I don't want to be considered like, a fraud or a fake. But I can do readings. I've been told by probably some of the best psychics in the world, you need to do more readings. And I'm like, hold on. I don't want to come up bad. But I'll give you a great example. When I do it and I get information, I give someone information. I can't express it how I know it's in your mind's eye. So if I said the number 2 to you guys right now, you can see what the number 2 looks like in your head. You don't even have to bat an eye, right? If I said red, if I said red and green, black plaid, you kind of come up with probably the same thing we're all going to come up with. Yeah. That's your mind's eye. Okay. I can still hear my grandfather's voice, what it sounds like in my head because of the experience, right? So that's how I do things. It was very interesting. Now, sometimes I don't think about it. It just comes. My wife, over a year ago, 2 years ago, she comes to me and she works at a summer camp. And she tells me that one of the people that she works with, that worked with her, this young kid, she's known for years. She knows the mother, whatever. She went home. She had headaches and she wasn't feeling good, a little blurry vision. She couldn't see a little bit. And I said, she goes, and she's having trouble. And I said, she has MS without batting an eye. Okay. And my wife's like, oh, no. She went to the doctor and everything. No, she doesn't have MS. Fast forward 2 weeks later. I'm sitting there watching some program, right? Or I think when I was watching, it was during the day, so my kids weren't there. She's standing there and not in context. And she goes, how'd you know that? And I'm like, how'd I know what? She goes, how did you know that? I said, again, how do I know what? What? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. She goes, how did you know? I said, you're telling me, how did I know what? What is this relation to? Give me the context. She goes, I forgot her name. She says, blank, she has MS. How did you know that? And my response to my wife, who's a non-believer in all this stuff, even though she saw a UFO the size of Giant Stadium that flew over our car when we were dating.
Oh, shit.
Who still says it was a weather balloon.
It was a weather balloon. Jesus
it wasn't
Christ.
A weather balloon. So I said, if I told you, you wouldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot about a lot. I never pry in people's lives. I'm not one of those. I know a lot about a lot. And when situations, I can tell you X, Y, and Z is going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's a great situation. And a lot of the times things that I do happen when I get to sleep finally. And everybody has this. If you wake up from a dream and like, I think there was a snake with a vest, and Vince, you were smoking a Cuban while Fred was, drinking some kind of beer. When you're kind of vague about it, that's a dream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if I said to you, all right, so Vince, you were driving this train and it was blue, it had these blue strips on it, and then you kind of did a semicircle and you X, Y, and Z took whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. When you get specifics, guess what, folks? You're at a certain frequency or vibration, and you're at that level where you're actually connecting to these timelines or that area between past, present, and future.
Yeah.
So just recently, just before the summer, I woke up and this was the experience. I knew, and I posted it, and I said, there's going to be a train crash, either a passenger train or a freight type of train, guaranteed next, within the next 24 hours. Please be careful if you're traveling by rail.
Yeah.
And in under 24 hours, there was a train crash, a bad one. I think it was in Pennsylvania. And my buddy overseas goes, didn't you predict this? And I looked at it. I'm like, I wasn't paying attention. I don't watch the news. Okay.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah. I said, yes, I did. He goes, I tell you, pretty spot on. I said, yeah, pretty much was.
Holy fuck.
So I've done that before. I've done a lot of that type of stuff before. And sometimes my buddy Al that I talked to you about, he's like, oh, Mr. Doom and Gloom, and but I see certain things, I'll let it out. I will never not tell a person anymore. I was always afraid. I don't want you to think I'm crazy. Yeah. I'm in a fraternity, a society that's global. We'll just say that. It goes back one. So I'm a Freemason. I don't have money. I'm not the Illuminati. But I woke up. Now, one of my brothers, who I love to death, great guy. I met his wife. I know he has a couple of kids. I've never met his children. I never met his stepdaughter. I never met any of the kids. And I had a dream that I was in a store. I was in Connecticut. I was talking. I just walked in. I was asking this woman and this man, is he okay? He's good. They were finding, yes, he got treated perfectly. He's fine. And I said, okay, cool. This is great. The next day, actually, I was going to my lodge for a meeting, really just to hang out, actually. And he was there. I called him up. I said, you need to come. I said, I need to speak to you. And he's English. And I said, this is what's going to happen. I need you to go to your doctor. I need you to be very careful right now because you're going to have something's going to go on with your heart. You got to be careful. Your heart attack or whatever. Please go get yourself checked out. I mean, do it immediately. And he's listening. And I said, this is what I saw. This is what I'm worried about. And I just said, I saw this woman here. She looked like this. I saw this guy that looks like that. And he goes, you just described my daughter-in-law and my son.
Oh, shit.
Okay, cool. So a couple of weeks go by. He's a crossing guard because he's retired. He's in New Jersey, actually.
Oh, shit.
He's crossing this kid, and some a-hole blows the stop and goes straight through.
Oh,
he
fuck.
almost hits the kid. So my buddy goes and grabs the kid and pulls him to the side. And he said he was unnerved and he felt very not well after that. He went to his wife. He says, I don't feel very well. I need to go to the doctor now. They took him to the hospital. He blew a stent in his heart.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
And he says, because what you told me, I went immediately to the doctor. I blew a stent. And he's fine to this day.
No, man.
Yeah.
Just
So,
got chills.
you know what? If it comes to something like that, I will tell you straight up, like, dude, go to the doctor. You need to go right now.
Holy fuck.
We're having an experience right now with one of my wife's friends.
Really?
I know exactly what's going to take place in her world, and it's the type of person you can't tell it to.
You can't tell. Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, that's
You know what?
that's
It's not a bad-
gotta suck though.
It's not like a life or death thing. It's just a life event thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to bother.
You just know how it's all going to unfold, but you can't say anything.
Yep. Well, I've said it to my wife, but I'm like, I wouldn't say it to, because I know it's deaf ears, you know.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, but
that's fucking frustrating.
Because I'm such a science or a logical person, when this stuff happens, it's like, it's crazy. It shouldn't be happening. It's not like, so I always question things. So I always contact my buddy Al, who I investigate stuff with, and I said, this is what happened. Should I tell him? And he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And he says, yeah, sure, go ahead, because he's not the guy telling him. He's not the one. Dude, you're crazy. Go ahead, tell him. No, he believes me. He has his own ascension at one point, but it's so surreal that you want to make sure you're not going crazy or having an acid flashback. It's like, but I have a 98% accuracy rate when I do what I do.
Yeah.
And it's weird. So I use these abilities on investigations. I've used it. My buddy Al was he took 2 sets of people, 2 guys and 2 girls, into our location where we have a Bigfoot area.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept them in this one area there. And at night I said, look, I'll remote view the area and I'll get back. So I remote viewed because I couldn't go because I have 2 kids and I gotta be a parent, real person.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you've got some kind of blue flame you're going to see in the background, and they're staying on the outskirts. I can see the creatures on the outskirts, and one straight ahead of you near that, in the woods, and the other one is by the log. I said, I'm facing you. It's going to be on your left-hand side. There's a log there. It's in the woods there. And he came back. He goes, holy crap, you're exactly where I am right now. And I said, and he goes, and I just saw a blue flame. I said, yeah. And then so he must have told them, and out of the blue he goes, they want to know what color they're thinking of. And I got pissed. I'm like, I'm not a sideshow,
Mm-hmm.
And without missing a beat, I told him, I said, the guys are thinking of a green, but it's like more like a Charlotte green, and the women are actually on a purple end of it, like a purple or a lilac. And he came back, he wrote back, LOL, spot on. He goes, they're freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit.
And
now,
it just happens.
Your ability, as it were, when did this first manifest? You were aware of it?
When I joined Bronxville Paranormal Society, my buddy Al's group that started, I was the first one of the first ones he drafted into the group. Before our first investigation, our psychic's in Arkansas, and he had her read everybody that was there. So I've always had this feeling when I went outside, looked at the stars, when I was in summer camp, like I kind of feel like I belong up there. Can't explain it. Always fascinated by it. I used to play a game on my express bus from Manhattan back to where I live just outside of Manhattan. I get out in the back of the bus and I sit there and I concentrate on one person and go, turn around, look at me in the back, turn around, just using your brain. And you get those people that would, kind of like meet you, like you were connecting with them,
Yeah.
But I never thought of anything like that. I wasn't thinking of a psychic or any of that stuff, just messing around. But when we got read after our investigation, we always go to a coffee shop, get something to eat, whatever, kind of assess what people experience. So Al went around and said, I get people read, and you guys were okay. And one of the other guys in the group goes, well, when our psychic Cindy gets a little, she'll get a little jolt if you have some kind of ability or you're open to it. Yeah. And she goes, and like this person, she, you got a jolt, so you're more open to that. And then Al goes, and then she got to you. And she almost fell off her chair. So I said, what? She goes, yeah. She said that you have abilities, a lot different than her, similar to hers, but more than her, and different. But you keep your fence up, so you won't let the fence down. And I said, damn right, I'm from New York City. I don't let that go.
Right? Shit.
So I said to Al, I said, look, ask Cindy if I could contact her because I'd like to explore this, and I don't want to open a Pandora's box. I want to baby step this.
Yeah.
So I just started discussing with Cindy, and Cindy, I love her to death like a sister, but I said, I don't want to open a Pandora's box. And she was like, oh, motherfucker, you're going to be opening up a box. Yeah, it was a Pandora's box.
Too late.
Yeah, too late. And we started just talking about it, and I discovered how to ground myself better.
Okay.
Imagine you being connected to the earth and protecting yourself with a ball or whatever. And then once, it's like anything else. You start with 5-pound weights, right? And after about a month, you go to 10-pound weights. And then you go to 20-pound weights. And then 30. Before you know it, you got the muscles working, and you can pick up 100 pounds without even thinking about it. It's the same process.
Yeah.
So here's the fun part. As you do this and you start working it, and I thought it was remote viewing, but she kept saying, no, you're psychic. No, I said, no, I'm remote viewer. Sounds a little bit better,
Right.
It sounds nicer. Sounds like it's being a tuxedo remote viewer.
Remote viewer, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, ha, ha. But she said you're psychic, so I kind of pushed that out, not knowing. But once you start with one ability, you'll get another ability, unbeknownst to you. So most people are empath. You'll go someplace, you kind of get that. It's weird. I feel like when you meet somebody, you kind of like, the guy like drains me. Well, that's an empath. You're picking up on their emotions and all these things that are taking place. That's 99% of the public. They always have it. Oh, my stomach hurt. I knew how to get out of there. Empath. Yeah. And then if you start focusing and meditating and concentrating on, you can start using your abilities, and one will beget another, and so on and so forth. This past February, I lost 4 people in my life. So I lost my uncle, then it was my father-in-law, then it was a guy named Butch Witowski, who was one of the greatest in the paranormal, and he was like a father, grandfather, great guy, good friend. And then I lost a friend of mine I met when I worked at Credit Suisse, the bank. And we used to have these conversations Friday and Saturday nights for 4 hours about things, and very spiritual and whatever. And he died from, he was a Jersey guy. I told him that if he didn't get to the doctor, I'm going to come out to his house and drag him, kicking and screaming, to a doctor. But his brother came and got him to the doctor. They discovered he had spinal lesions, lung lesions, and brain lesions. He died within a couple of days from being admitted to a hospital. The last conversation I had with him was, he said, I'm scared. And I said, I know you are. But we got this. You're young. You'll get this. And I said, I love you, brother. Just, so that was that. A day later, split second, I'm looking up and I see my buddy Rob there, standing there. And I'm like, and I looked again, I looked away and then looked back. I'm like, what? And then a day after that, I get a phone call from a Connecticut number, and something said to me. And normally I don't always answer all my numbers, but if I don't know who it is, I'll just, it's usually like, you've ordered a package from Amazon. No.
Yeah.
So I said, Bryan had to pick this up. It was his sister, and she alerted me to the fact that he passed away. And so we buried him the day after. We had a memorial for him on his 44th birthday. Here's something very interesting. For a while now, he was going through a combination of ascension process and an awakening. When you said that, like, your friend you knew he was going to go to war and he wasn't coming back. So for a while now, my buddy Rob was having these dreams. He'd wake up and he was in fire, like he felt fire around him, like he was burning. And I said, like he was in hell or whatever.
Stop it.
And I, okay, I will. Only joking. You said stop it. So I know.
Oh, no. My fucking cat is just like bothering the shit.
I totally get it. I used to do that to my dog. Like, cut it out.
Knock it off.
But with Rob, he kept on having this dream, and I said, well, you know what? He would feel this vibration, very spiritual. He got very, very, very spiritual, very religious, Lutheran. And I said, well, what you're trying to do is connect your brain, body, and mind. That's what we've discussed this. And once you do that, you raise your vibration, you move to a higher level. So he kept on having this dream about fire, and he'd wake up sweating and freaking out. I said, it's all right. there's a lot going on. There's COVID. There's all this stuff. It could be subconscious. So, like I said, we went to his memorial service. I met his mother and his brother and sister and in-laws there. And I mean, this guy was great. He was very super smart, great guy. He got gypped. And I miss him dramatically now. I thought he was going to be buried. Nope. He was going to be cremated. Hence the fire. And he was, for 6 months prior, he was talking about these dreams about feeling he was in a fire. And what he was connecting to was the fact that he was being cremated.
Oh,
that's
shit.
my thought. So
God damn.
So talk about new abilities. I came home and I checked with other people that I know are psychics. You know, they have these gifts and stuff. I literally, I said to my, I just walked around. It was really a bad time. And I was like, I missed him. It was like a brother. Yeah. And I'm like, and I said in my mind's eye, I said, damn, Rob, I miss you a lot, man. And I heard his fucking voice. I'm like, I miss you too, bro. And I'm like,
shit.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just hearing that. And he's like, I heard him say, no, you're not. I'm talking to. And I started having a literal audio conversation with him. I can hear his voice in my ears. And I'm not even, I can either speak it or I can just do it in my head. And I'm like, seriously, this isn't happening. He goes,
holy shit.
It is. We're having, I said, so what's it like? He goes, it's easy. It's, it's a weird place. It's like we discussed, there's different ends of it. And I'm kind of doing a training and I'm like, you see anybody, and I'm having a conversation with him and I'm like, so I stopped and I said, okay, all right. This is, I'm going nuts because of the COVID. Yeah. So I contacted Katie Turner, a friend of mine who is a hell of a psychic. And if you have women on, you need this girl on. She's out of this world. She was on Paranormal Witness. She's freaking phenomenal. Okay. Really, really spot on. Amazing, beautiful, the whole night. Okay. And I said, I think I'm going crazy. This is what's happening. She goes, oh my God, you have Claire audio. I'm like, who's Claire and why do I have her? And she has it too. So some people hear the psychics. Yeah, right? Yeah. Some people can see them. Some people see and hear them. Some people, like, literally, they'll physically be there and they'll have a conversation. I have that now. It is the freakiest shit. And
you were talking about that. You one, you get one, then you get more.
And it totally freaking me out. So I take that a little bit slow, but I've definitely had conversations with people, and sometimes I can hear them, sometimes I can't.
Holy shit! Now do you get the visual, or is it just the audio right now?
I get both. I can see them. I had somebody actually, this guy Craig from the Three Beards podcast. Great show,
he was just in the chat earlier.
Yeah, Craig is great. He's in a tougher area than I am in Florida right now, so I'm praying for him. And
Fort Myers, I think he said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he posted something at one point. Does anybody interpret dreams? So I said, I know people, I can do it too. So he said, I got this person that needs help. I said, okay, just give him my information, connect me, message that person and me and say, hey, this is Bryan, So I got a message from this woman out of Canada, and she talks about her husband just died and her daughter died, and I'm like, and I'm sitting on there, and boom, I got a man, and I get I get a man first. She told her about her husband died, and she's having these weird dreams, and usually in her dreams, she's able to fix them by going back into them. But this I can't fix and whatever. And we have this. I said, listen, I can't do this through text. Is it all right if I do a messenger phone call? She said, sure. So basically, the long story short is I'm seeing in my head a man, like a fatherly man, a big portly guy, wearing red hunting camo. And I see a girl there, a woman, like some younger person. They're standing together, and I start talking to this woman on the phone. I never met her before in my life, and I said, and everything just starts flooding back. I said, okay, tell me what is this dream? And she said that her husband comes back and he's cheating on her and it hurts her and she's upset. I said, okay. She goes to, I said, okay, so what's going on with your husband? Sometimes experience in life actually plays off in your dreams. It's the way your psychological mind works and how to deal with it. She goes, my husband died. He had cancer of the spine or brain or something like that. I said, I'm very sorry to hear that. And I see the guy going like this. And he goes, but our daughter died a couple years earlier from cancer. And I see this girl going like this. I said, okay. And I said, just curious. Is your husband a portly guy? Does he have like big cheeks and like a looks like a goatee or something? She goes, oh yeah, he looks like that. I'm like, okay. And is your daughter like dirty blonde or I think I remember seeing it? Yeah, big smile. Yeah. I said, okay, I can see him right now, and they're nodding that, what's going on. This woman was missing her family, and she couldn't fix it because they're passed on. So what she tried to do, and we're going through this whole process, and she tried to kill herself a couple of times. And I said to her, I said, first of all, they're worried about you. Second of all, they know you lament on these things and overthink them. You got to stop doing that. They said, eventually we will be together and everything will be fine. You got to keep going on and moving. And I started telling him all these things. I started telling him, they're fine. They're in a better place. I said, out of the blue, I said, I know this sounds crazy, but does your husband have a red plaid, like hunting type? She goes, oh my God, plaid's his favorite color. I said, yeah, well, he's wearing it right now. And you can see him. I can see him smiling.
Oh, shit.
And I couldn't hear their voices, but I knew exactly what they were saying. It's kind of hard to explain that. And I started, and and they were telling me, they're going to watch over you. They're going to give you a sign that they were there, and they're there with you, watching you. You can't kill yourself. You have a plan and you have a timeline. God will put you, that's where you have to be. Yeah. You have to also start helping people. And long story short, she started crying. I said, I hope this helps. She goes, this is the best. You were spot on about everything. And I said, well, I'm more than happy to help you. And she goes, she texted me again. I feel so much more relieved after talking to you. I feel my world's better. And then a day later, she texts me and she goes, and she sends me an image of, I think it was a feather and a stamp or a coin, something like that. I forgot what it was. Because I was actually clearing out my storage stuff to bring it to Florida. So I'm kind of in two places. Basically, each one of those items, one was actually represented her daughter, and the other one was her husband. And she goes, you made my life better. So, I mean, this is, if I could do it to help people, I'm going to help people. And
well, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. So, now you were talking about how you mentioned briefly the pineal gland, the third eye, and iodine. So what is it? What's the relation with that?
So the powers that be out there don't want you to be aware of what's going on. They want you to be subservient, and they don't want you to connect to God, whoever the God is for you, or they call him spirit. I call him God. God is God. Okay. And they don't want you to, because the more you know and the higher you resonate, the more that you have more power over them, because
the less control they have over you.
100%. So what one of the things they kept, and they're aware of this, it's been known for decades, if not thousands of years. The Egyptians used to do it. You look at the hieroglyphics about the pineal. They would take that out because that's how important it is. So one of the things that they did was they started putting fluoride in your water. Fluoride is a calcifier. It calcifies the pineal gland. There's also something that was given out in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That also destroys your okay? Helps to destroy it. One of the things that decalcifies your pineal gland is iodine. And the more iodine you take, the less it's calcified, so it allows the pineal gland to work. It's very interesting. For a while that you are not allowed to buy iodine supplements any place in this country, I believe. You can get iodine through fish, but you'd have to eat a boatload of it. The Japanese have tons of iodine, and you could actually order real good iodine overseas.
Oh,
But
okay.
now you're able to order iodine drops and supplements through Amazon and some other retailers. They'll be able to get it to you.
What's a good like daily dosage then?
I don't know. I mean, you know what? I forgot the name of the iodine or the drop I was getting. I think I was doing a Mary Ruth's or something. I don't know. And they were like, you know, they were like 2 drops a day. I was doing about a half a little dropper or whatever.
Just
I was
put it
doing
in
a little
water?
bit more than that. I just put it on my tongue, take it. I'm not a
Okay.
fish guy, so I'm a vegan or a
Got it.
meditarian.
Okay.
So I mean,
Gotcha.
I have some fish, but I don't eat enough fish to gain iodine naturally.
Okay.
And our
Yeah,
water's
I've been
really-
using a filter now that is takes the fluoride out of the water.
That's good.
Yeah.
Keegan filter is good too. It gives a little
Yep.
more acidity to it, which helps the oxygen level to raise up to almost 100%, and really helps you out with energy and restoring any problems too. That's why you see all the celebrities drinking it. They know what's going on. But you know, I'll look up the dosage because I think I had a chart. Someone I know was doing it, and they said this is a good dose to take. But it's a matter of just literally taking 5 minutes out of your day. It's going to help you out anyhow.
Yeah.
And just sit there and focus on something quietly, breathe, and focus on something. And if you want, we can do something that I've been, you know, I did it on a couple of shows where I've had a couple of items selected. I put them in envelopes, and we had you guys concentrate on what's in the envelope. And that's how remote viewing kind of works. You concentrate on the subject, you know, what's in the envelope or whatever. And you use paper and pen to sketch, you know, some things like hash marks could be a screen or metal. And you can use what, you know, for water or swirling. And 9 out of 10 times when you start thinking about it, just, you know, free your mind of it, you somehow connect to that's how it works. You connect to what I'm thinking of or what I put in there. And I'll know. I mean, it's no good for me, but it would be good for each one of you to have a pad, and even some of your listeners, they can take part in it too. And then at the end, we can reveal, like, show us, you know, what were you thinking it was. You know?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's the whole point. Concentrate. I like to use binaural beats or binaural audio. Different frequencies to kind of meditate, get the theta, beta, you know, different waves.
I'll listen to that before I go to bed.
I have to listen to it every night because my wife is a snoring monster.
Oh, shit.
So I try to listen to deep sleep.
You have no choice,
dreaming. Oh God, it's frustrating because I don't like it. I like to hear what's going on, but
snoring is very discordant. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what I would do. But I'm pushing 10 on the time here, guys.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say maybe we'll have to the end of October towards Halloween we could do the remote viewing test.
Sure. If you yeah, definitely we can do that.
Yeah.
And if you want, let me. I'll connect you, Vince, or you guys on. You guys are on Facebook, right? I think we're connected.
I'm not on Facebook, but I'm on Twitter.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk to my buddy Al. Maybe we can drag his ass on here because he has some,
absolutely, yeah.
He has some really kick-ass stories. You know those people in life that like they got the greatest freaking luck in the world. Like I just picked up a ticket, I scratched it, I won $10.
Nice.
You know, like I just found $1,000. You know.
Does he have that Brooklyn accent?
No. He's Italian. So
okay.
Yeah, Al Santariga.
Okay,
like,
nice.
You know,
like him already.
Him and I, I joke around with him all the time. But he's the type of guy who's had tons of experiences.
Okay.
And I think you guys would. I mean, like his Son of Sam story.
Oh shit.
Is worth its weight. I mean, you'll love him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, please do. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll definitely want to have him on solo, or we'll just tell him to give you a couple of stories, and definitely the Son of Sam.
All right.
That's freaking interesting. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I thank you guys for having me on, and I'm glad I was able to make something possible for everybody.
Absolutely. This has been once again fascinating and a privilege to talk to you, Bryan. And I'll be in touch. We'll set something up again.
Yeah, no problem. And just so you know, it's you and Justin Rimmel, who, like, Justin Rimmel texted me. He's like, what do you know about the Alaskan Triangle? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
3 hours later on an interview, and I just dropped when I'm getting contacted by people, and anybody can contact me on Facebook, on Twitter.
Yep.
I'm on all those. I'm still working on BryanBowden.com for whatever. But when I'm not being kicked off Facebook,
Right?
just contact me to say, hey, I saw you on Masculine Geek and great show, or you suck, or whatever you want. I'm open to all of it. I you know, and I can answer any questions you have.
All right,
and,
cool.
and just so you know, I am doing readings now. I just haven't set it up fully yet.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I'll have to
yeah.
take you up on that.
Yeah, I can do that. Solo.
Cool.
I we'll discuss.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
All right, I'll be
Cool.
talking to you soon, Brian. Thanks
All right,
again.
guys. Be
Pleasure.
well.
As
Yeah,
always.
thanks for
You
joining
too.
us. Good luck weathering the storm.
Yeah,
pray,
be safe.
Pray for my lights.
Yes. All right, Brian.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Yeah.
You
Night.
too. Good night.
All right. Bye.
You're still here. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow, that was fucking awesome.
Always entertaining.
Yeah.
Whether you're a skeptic or a true believer or whatever, I mean, the stories are always
I'm
interesting.
definitely a true believer. That's for sure. Just the rabbit hole of stuff I've been researching lately. It's like holy shit, and just to have it corroborated and validated by stuff that he's saying is just like fantastic. Yeah. It's like wow, okay, well, I'm not alone here. I don't feel like an insane idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Correct, Mictobus. He is an interesting dude. We'll have to have him on. Thanks, Safety Doc. Thanks, Doc. We'll have him on again to do that remote viewing stuff. That'll be fun to do. To start taking my iodine.
Yeah.
Decalcify my pineal gland. Fucking pineal gland. Mictobus, what iodine do you take? And yes, Safety Doc, you did. What's up, Doc? Earth to Mictobus. I've had a cryptid experience. I'll go into that next, maybe one of our next shows, maybe before or after the D&D game. I've encountered, one live and one just auditory. Type faster.
Yeah, definitely. I know my mother. Well, my mother's into all kinds of stuff, so I mean, she would have really have dug this episode, but there's no way in hell I'm having my mother watch this.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But no, she definitely believes that she's seen one of these dog men, and in fact, she was staying with an uncle who definitely had seen it as well, and slept with a revolver or something under his pillow in case they got into the house. And I'll have to talk to her about that to get some more details, but that's one of the stories I remember her telling about when she was little. And that took place in a little town here in Indiana that was founded by Quakers, which is kind of a weird, spooky little place where I spent quite a bit of time as a child, not least of which in the cemetery in that little town, which I always had kind of a odd affinity for. But of course, I had lots of family members buried there, so it was regular for me.
That made sense then, yeah.
Well, it was. I went there a lot with my great grandmother to visit certain relatives, and her brother, who my uncle Bob, who was very dear to me, is also buried there, right next to his sister with his mom and dad. Of course, I didn't find out until just this year, I think it was earlier in the year, that I was actually conceived in that cemetery. So,
oh shit,
yeah,
I think you talked about that before.
Yeah. So, no idea if I'll end up buried there, but I was definitely conceived there. So, Mictobus ever get around to giving us an answer, or is he holding out on us?
He did. He said something about survival shield is what they called it, and also recommend the silver boo-boo cream they sell. That stuff, you put that on your schlong. What do you do with that? You put that on your your third eye, or where it would be, or do you just put that cream anywhere? Where does that go? Or do I even want to know? Right in the ash.
Yeah, is that one of those $20 is $20 kind of things?
$20 is $20, you son of a bitch. Oh fuck. Yeah, that was it's for wounds, dumbass. I don't know. Maybe you put it on when you don't have a wound. I mean, if it works, then you don't need a wound to apply it now, do you, dumbass? God damn it, make the best, you son of a bitch. You magnificent bastard. You're lucky I like you.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, that does sound kind of odd, Doc.
Right? Cut, scrapes, burn. Well, just start cutting yourself and put some of the shit back on so you can heal yourself again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been present for quite a few paranormal occurrences that made no sense to me, but I just went with it. I do have paranormal investigative gear, temperature gauges, and Geiger counters, and EMF detectors and stuff. In fact, when TJ's out
garlic?
here,
Garlic,
I don't garlic is for vampires, and I don't worry about those fuckers.
Just wolfmen.
Exactly, just
not
the
dogmen. Sorry,
the dogmen. We're the werebeasts. Yeah, when TJ's out here in November, we may be taking a ride out to Montauk.
Gonna do some ghost busting.
Yeah, or get arrested by the U.S. military.
Have you already got something set up with Rob to bail you out?
I've got money set aside for bail money
Okay.
for TJ and I. We're good, and contacts. I've talked to several friends. V running around the old mental hospitals like you got. You got.
Yeah. Got a code set up so we know if the government has you. If you disappear, it's like the feds got you.
Well, TJ and I will let you know when this takes place, so you can always.
All right.
You can call Rob if we don't check in at a certain time. You let Rob know, and he'll know what to do.
Okay.
The authorities will say to me, "Would you want us to notify your employer?" Joke's on you. I am my employer.
Yeah, right. Chances are I am their employer, so I should be okay. But we'll see. Oh fuck! All right. So, does anyone have any questions in the chat? We've got about 15 minutes before we cut out. We want to keep this, as always, around 2 hours. Running around the old mental hospitals like Egon.
I mean, I
Print is dead.
I felt like this was going to be kind of tangenting too much for. I wanted Bryan to, I was also interested in what he had to say, so I didn't want a side rail thing.
Yeah,
but
same.
I get to the point where I see things going on in the world where it seems very conspiratorial, and the crazy part is that I talk to ordinary people who they give off this vibe of like they're all in on it,
right?
Where they say something and you're like, I don't understand, and they kind of just give you this look like they know and they're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
And then, but they say it's especially when they use the word "we" to describe random people in other parts of the world that we have no connection to, but they say "we." And I go, what do you mean "we"? And they kind of just give you this look like this, like kind of cute, smug look. Like they know and they don't tell you, and there's no way for you.
They know something you don't. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is like, do they, or do they not know, or like what is actually going on? And
I think collectively on a gut level, everyone realizes something is just fucking really off. It's almost palpable now. Just people that I talk to at work.
Well, like look at Biden.
Absolutely.
But Biden can't form a complete sentence.
He's wandering around like he's basically wandering around like a mental patient.
And the thing is, nobody says it's. But the crazy thing is, the other party isn't saying anything either. Really,
they're acting like business as usual.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they all are like, yes, we know he's senile. Everybody knows he's senile.
We don't care. We don't care. We don't
Right,
fucking
because
care.
we know
We
he
don't
doesn't
care.
actually run the. Well, it's like, but what they're implying by that is we know he's not actually calling the shots, so it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Mhm.
The figurehead is mentally ill, and we don't care if you know that you know that we know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I always looked at that and just thought it's like everybody instinctively knows what's going on and they've picked their side because they know, regardless of whether or not Biden's a senile, crotchety old creep, they all know that he's being controlled by people whose agenda they support because they agree
Mhm.
with some, like, when you go down to the coal mine shaft at the very bottom of the fundamental premise, they agree with that premise. So they're just following it wherever it's. I don't know. This is where I'm like not trying to go too far down a rabbit hole, but
Right.
it's almost like this psychological rationalization. Like the rationalization hamsters, they've got to have like factories of these guys
Mhm.
running to keep their brains being able to process all this contradictory information, but it's also the information's constantly contradicting itself.
Right. Well, when I was in Germany in 2018, I was sitting in a beer garden um, right before going to the opening of a convention for which I was there as a guest. And there were 3 older British gentlemen sitting at the next table. So, of course, when they found out I was a Yank, they invited me over to drink with them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just getting ready to leave, but some guys from Austria had actually seen me and knew who I was and bought me a beer and sent it over to me. So it's like, okay, well, I've got to stay here now. So we were sitting down talking, and one of the things they were asking me was, "So, your country just elected Trump. What do you think about that?"
Yeah.
And they wanted my take, and my thought then is still very much the same now. The Republican electorate were tired of voting for Republicans that said, we will stand up to the Democrats, send us there, we will oppose them, we will stop them, we will fight for you. And then as soon as they get there, it's all about, well, we got to reach across the aisle and the media is against us, so we've got to capitulate and give so that we can fight against the narrative that we're this, that, or the other. And the electorate, at least for the Republicans, were fed up with that and basically threw kind of a tantrum and went against the usual thing to vote for the Republican that's electable. And they voted for Trump. And they're like, this is what we're giving out. So of course, he wasn't supposed to win in the general election. Hillary was the anointed one. She was the chosen one. She was the one that was going to break the glass ceiling and so on and so forth. This was her payment for standing by her man when he was doing all the things he was doing, whether it was with interns in the White House or on Epstein's Pleasure Island. And this was her reward. And that didn't happen. And that threw everything off track. And I absolutely loved it, because whenever they are upset and they are angry and they're throwing hissy fits and they aren't able to get anything done, that generally speaking is better for the rest of us. And that's just my take. And so that's kind of what I explained to them. That was my thinking on it. And what was funny is, despite all the anti-Trump narrative stuff in the news and in the media, even in overseas, those 3 British guys were like right on and thought that was really funny and thought that made a lot of sense, and it didn't bother them one bit. And when they found out I liked, my humor was developed from like Dave Allen at Large, Monty Python, and the Marx Brothers, then we had a whole other thing to talk about besides politics. So it was just, I always like it when things don't go the way the government planned it to, because that's usually better for us.
Yeah, I think what's been interesting over the last couple of years has been how there's been some that the media basically just they announce like you're supposed to now care about this, and now
Yes.
you're supposed to care about that. And I see people just immediately shift toward that. And there's two different peoples. There's the true believers, and then there's the people who believe, I think deep down, that if they don't go with the flow, they're going to get put in the cattle car.
Yeah, the we support the current thing crowd. The ones that, okay, we've got the Ukraine flag. Okay, what flag are we supposed to have on our Twitter name this month? Is the rainbow flag? Okay, here's the rainbow flag. BM, BLM flag. Here's the, and what is the current thing? We'll put it on our Twitter feed so that we're showing solidarity with the herd. Yeah, and
it's been really fascinating.
It's a masturbation party.
Yeah.
Well, what's fascinating also is how it's just caused them to just throw critical thinking out the door on pretty much any issue, where it doesn't matter. We have to do this. Like what's going on with this whole energy crisis in Europe.
It's all fabricated bullshit.
We're at war. We've got to defeat it. It's just, so this is the part where I get conspiratorial. Why exactly? And not to get too much into this topic, but this is the conspiracy part. Is I'll ask a simple question: why is it so important that we oppose the invasion of Ukraine? Like for us as Americans, nobody will ever give me an answer. They just look at me like, "How do you not know?" Or they say he's a bad guy, or they say some sort of stuff. I go, I get that, but go to the Congo or Sudan or some part of the Middle East. Like, why are we supposed to care about these countries and these peoples? Why is it important to us? And when they use the word "we," they're not referring to Americans. They're referring to some other peoples that I don't fully understand, because they'll refer to Europeans and Americans as "we." Yeah. And I go, there is no "we." Like or they'll say that one person said, "Well, we're at war," and I go, "No, we're not."
No.
And that's where they gave me that look of like, where they just kind of like did this kind of coy thing. Like
we haven't been at war since the 1940s.
Yeah, we have not been at war since 1945, and I pointed that out, and it was a very weird look. Like, yes, we're at war, but we just haven't. I mean, it was this is if they were to say we are at war, we just haven't declared it yet. Because and my gut, that's where I just get conspiratorial. Is this was not somebody who really knew anything about politics. This is just was an average person who probably just follows stuff on Facebook, and yet they're acting like they're directly participating and directly planning and directly involved in what's going on over there.
The Chrono Garzi.
Okay.
So this book deals with does deal with 9/11 and the facade that was. This is all the this takes everything from the Phoenix Project, the Montauk Project, the Philadelphia Experiment. This book, this fucking thing your head's going to explode. The evidence, Bryan's talking about not having proof, but get this book. You're not going to be disappointed, and your mind is going to be expanded in ways you wouldn't think fucking possible. Now, it started for me with this one, Montauk Project.
Okay,
Preston Nichols. Start off here, and you go to the second book, Montauk Revisited. And then for shits and giggles, just read more about. I picked this up because it dovetails nicely with the time travel, because Tesla was involved in that, and his Tesla coils were intimately involved with the Philadelphia Experiment as far as like the apparatus used. I was at Wardenclyffe. I've talked about that before. I'm not going to go into that again, but I've been into the lab on a cleanup project back on Long Island. But start with those books. Maybe I'll put them in the show notes as well. And I have
good idea.
Yeah, I have taken some screenshots of various depositions just to start off. So when you read this, you're like, oh, wow, okay, well, time travel has been a thing for decades now. And apparently time travel has these there's certain what's called, the Earth has something called a biorhythm. and everyone has something called a time lock. It's when your moment of conception locks you into a specific time frame that resonates with the earth at that time you were conceived. And when Bryan was talking about the soldiers on the USS Eldridge, not Eldritch, Eldridge. The ones that didn't get fucked up and get embedded into bulkheads and shit, the rest of them, two of them jumped off. I'll go into that in another podcast. Two of them jumped off, and
they show in the movie.
They
Both
do.
The sailors stuck in the bulkheads, as well as the fact that two got off the ship.
The one's name is Duncan. The two soldiers that jumped off, they wound up being chrononauts, being sent forward and backward in time. So the Earth has biorhythms. They occur in decades and in multiples of 20. So the Philadelphia experiment took place in 1943. When what they were trying to do with Tesla's inventions was to mask ships from enemy radar to become invisible. Well, they did it, but they also opened up wormholes. And they sent the Eldridge forward into time to 1983 for several minutes. But for them, it was several minutes. For 43 time, it was, I think, 4 to 5 hours. When the soldiers came back, they were either insane. Some were enveloped in this like almost ethereal fire that they couldn't put out, just had to go out on its own. But the soldiers weren't actually burning, but they were in flames. And the rest of them went crazy. Their just minds couldn't handle. That's why they experiment on children. Bryan was talking about when we were talking about the Montauk Boys. Children have a different time lock, and they also have there's an openness to children that they haven't had experiences yet. Their minds are like sponges. They're very open to psychic phenomena. So that was
the neural pathways haven't formed in the brain completely yet. Those patterns of memory and learned knowledge and stuff.
They haven't been
as well as the brain not being fully developed.
Correct. Everything is fresh and new. They're almost in a scientific brain sense. They do have a blank slate, as it were. So that's why they were experimenting on them. Well, I can go into more detail later as I finish up my research. And there's a few more things I need to study, and I'll also have other people looking into things as far as deeds and land and whatnot. So before TJ and I make our foray into the into the unknown in November. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting. But I will go ahead and post those in the show notes, those books. And yeah, Tesla was on the right track. Yeah, I stayed in the hotel, the New Yorker, in his room actually for a 4-day weekend in February of 2015. That was interesting.
All right, bet.
He spent the last 10 years of his life in that room, and in the safes, or a locker he had in the basement of that hotel that was raided the day after he died by the FBI. Yep. So, oh yeah, he was a man ahead of his time. That's for sure.
Yeah, and certain pop culture, popular scientists do not care much at all for Tesla.
Of course not, because he was correct. Yep. All right, gentlemen. We are literally at the 2-hour mark and 12 seconds. I don't think we have any final questions. We'll have
or have we not even started the show yet, Vince?
Well, it depends. If we're going to go ahead and look at the we're going to be chrononauts and think about time. Like I said, when you think about it, no one's actually died.
Yep.
You can go back and forward. No one's dead. No one is really dead. If you wrap your head around that for a little bit, you're gonna go fucking nuts. Holy shit! So
you're not gonna make a part of Tesla's time machine somewhere in my my archives here. That's not your your plans for Laserdiscs, are you? I know you're up to stuff.
Well, I do plan on having a time travel with the next Laserdisc novella. With
How's
TJ.
that progressing?
That's going well. I have to shift. I have to shift because I was starting out with a different premise for the second novella, but there's a way I can work the time travel in.
Okay.
So you're welcome. You're welcome, Sir Bryan Bowden.
Always
a pleasure.
great.
We look forward to the end of October, setting something up for that too.
Whether here or at MG Fortress meetings, either.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe we'll have you with the
private
the private chat. That'd be cool to have you back on again. It was as we did before. But yeah, the next novella is going to feature some time jumping, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Especially, I have plans for both your character and several other people to come in on this next one. Well, Mictobus, the second novella is done. I'm actually, it's funny because I was just thinking about this. I had text messaged my book cover designer a few days ago and haven't heard anything. And to be honest, I'm kind of at the end of my rope because it's been over a year.
Yes.
That he's been fucking paid. And all I have is a few drafts. And look, dude, if you can't do it, just fucking say that and give me my money back.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, you're going to ruin what friendship we have, and you're not going to get I'm not going to go out and lambast you, but you're not getting a coloring book, Mictobus. You'd be more apt to write. Here's what you're going to do, Mictobus. You can do the Masculine Geek coloring book, and I'll license it to you. There you go. We're going to go into a licensing deal together. So, Laserdiscs, the first one is practically finished. I'm going into the second one. I'm also working on a BDSM novel as well. So I've got a bunch of shit going on. So, like I said, within the next year or so, you're going to see like 2 or 3 novellas come out for me. You son of a bitch, and maybe a coloring book. We'll see. I have to work you, Robert, and Mictobus into the Laserdisc world. And if Mictobus keeps mouthing off, I'm going to give him a really good role.
Is he going to be doing washing dishes at the Manosphere?
He's going to be
working for Cappy.
He's going to be a butler at Aaron's place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit. So, Bryan, if you can see this is really good. This is what we were talking about with the Philadelphia experiment and the time travel. Chronography. Check this book out. Alfred Lambermont Ware. JD MED. Exactly, it's a pain in the ass. There's too many factors get in the way, and I have to say I'm being too nice of a guy when it comes to my book cover designer. I really am. I need to stop that. I need to put my own worldview into play.
Yeah, because you've been talking about the fact that that was paid for quite some time now. So you were like, yeah, it's paid for. I'm just waiting for the art. And that's been months and months and months ago.
Oh, yeah. I've shown some of the drafts, and they're phenomenal. And if he were to come through, it would be fantastic. And I could continue with publishing it. But I think I'm just going to have to go ahead and pull the plug on that and then go with someone else. I mean, it's going to suck because I wanted him to do all the artwork. The covers are fantastic. Yeah. We do, it's funny you say that, Bryan. We do need a Masculine Geek cigar line. If we could totally white label that. If you have anyone in mind, or you can recommend them to us, shoot me a text. That would be fantastic.
My only ask on that is it needs to go well with bourbon.
Well, I would say, it depends on the bourbon too.
Yeah.
Certain beers. A heavier cigar is good, a Maduro.
Mhm.
I think a bourbon would be. I think a Connecticut wrapper or lighter wrapper might be go.
Mhm.
What do you think, Brian? A Connecticut wrapper, something light, would go good with bourbon. What do you think? Danny, you do book covers, Brian? Like illustration? Because that's what I'm looking for. You're right, Mictobus. Bull Rush did have a cigar rolling guy.
Mhm.
Forgot about that. I mean, I don't know what the ROI would be. It might be good just to have as a novelty.
Mhm.
You know, like making the clock that I made, Mexican Geek clock. You can see it up there.
Yeah.
So I got the logo.
The
and
logo
this
that
is-
Razorfist didn't like.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I have nothing against him. It was just funny.
Neither do I. I thought that was really odd and kind of out of nowhere. I mean, if things for him to kind of seem to be bent out of shape about it, it's like,
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it
I was
was
only I was only fucking around.
yeah,
Like whatever. I like it. It's no big deal. But that
Yeah.
was funny. Fuck that
Yeah.
asshole. And this is my sole concession to Autumn. This gourd. This is given to me by my main girl. She's like, here, something for Autumn. Oh, yeah, cool. That's all I need. Put it in the background. That's
goes
my
well with the
seasonal.
Doc Savage art. behind you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, that's from TJ. That's a gift from TJ
Oh, cool.
for one of my birthdays. Yeah. And then this is the Jersey Devil by a local artist. His name is Dave Dick. D-I-C-K. Dick. Dave Dick. That's an old advertisement for a fountain pen, a number 56. Can't see it from here. Wellerman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wellerman fountain pen that H.P. Lovecraft used to use for his writing.
Cool.
And then that is a calendar with one of my favorite all-time pinups, as it were, and Betty Page.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Maduro will go well with anything. Okay, that's cool. We're going to talk further about that. When I touch basically for all the other stuff that we're doing, we're going to talk cigars. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Oh, fantastic, Brian. That'd be great. I would love to white label a Masculine Geek cigar. In fact, you can, if you want. Let's talk. Since you do artwork and book covers, I'm assuming you can do cigar labels. We're networking here, gentlemen. This is how you do it. Cool. I'm totally fine with Maduro. I mean that's fine with me. I like all varietals, as it were.
I think Harlan Ellison used a Wellerman pen. I don't know that he used a 56, but I think he used.
He probably did.
I remember him talking about having trouble getting like blotters when he was doing like book signings early on, and talking about nibs and stuff like that for pens. And of course, the kids at the conventions or whatever, when they think of pens, they think of the Bic standard kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's not an actual, proper old school pen. And anyway, so I think he mentioned Wellerman by name, but
cool. No, it probably. I'll ask my main girl. She's a huge fountain pen geek, like technical shit that's way above my head, like gold nibs and then the different sizes and the weights and like what they're made out of and like all this other. I'm like, you do what you have to do. Just get me my shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, Brian, you're gonna have some work coming to you soon. We're gonna talk about this. This is gonna be actually fantastic. Make a Churchill for a special MG. We probably could. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about like having a really cool MG event in Las Vegas. Reaching out to maybe a few cigar shops that do private events and have something catered. I'm not sure. We'll see. I do want to go ahead and look into that for probably 2024. We got between TJ and I and Rob and Chest and just Mexico. There's too much shit going on next the end of this year and next year to fit anything in. So probably 2024. But yeah, definitely a cigar, even for just like Bacon said, for a private event. But yeah, definitely, Brian. We're going to talk about all that shit. Cool. This has been a rather awesome show. I'm very happy with it.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Any final questions in the chat before we head out? Before TJ gives his ending, his shout outs. That reminds me, Safety Doc, I'm going to be doing a review for your second book soon. So, complete with that photo that I took that you like so much. I haven't forgotten you. Don't worry.
I still need to do a review first.
All right. So, no questions. All right. Cool. All right. Where can everyone find you, Robert?
Robert Kuzland on Instagram, Twitter, the usual places, and of course here with the Masculine Geeks.
TJ.
You can find me at tjmartinell.com.
There you go. Short and sweet and very brief, as always. All right. Let me cue up the music. And in the meantime, TJ, take us out.
All right, guys. Keep the fires burning. Keep the lead shooting down range. Keep the wine flowing. Don't take any wood nickels. Don't drink all the rum. And stay safe.
There you go.
Question everything.
That's right. Indeed. Question everything. Indeed. Work it.